What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Daily Dose with Dylan Davis. I am your host, Dylan. You can give me a follow on Twitter at DylanJD98. Give my co-host a follow on Twitter at Matt_McGinty. And guys, do not forget about DSM Media with myself, Gint, and Scotty. So please go give DSM Media a subscribe on Twitter and a follow on Twitch to be entered for a chance to win our Joel Embiid City Edition t-shirt, which will be going out this week. And today is a very special edition of the Daily Doses. We will be joined momentarily by the great Hunter Brody. He's the founder of Broads Media, formerly 97.3 ESPN, and he's on the weekends at 97.5 The Fanatic. If you don't already follow him, give him a follow at Broads81. And today is going to be more NBA playoffs, more Sixers play-in tournament. We'll get Broads' opinion on who his regular season MVP award would go to, how far the Sixers can make it this far, this postseason run, looking for a finals appearance since the first time in 20 years. But Gint, how are you?
Good, man. There was some good games last night. Definitely better than the first night, that's for sure, this play-in tournament. Every team I liked that I wanted to win, essentially, in these play-in games, all lost. So that wasn't fun. And we saw the first time ever last night a guy was seeing 3 baskets and just made a 47-footer in the middle basket. So that was cool.
He shot for the one in the middle, dude.
I just
hit the one in the middle. Like what? He couldn't see out of his eye, apparently. I don't know. But yeah, how about that Lakers-Warrior game? And here's our special guest today, Mr. Hunter Brody. Broads, how are you feeling? It's a Thursday. Playoff basketball is going on. I don't know if he's on his 19th cup of coffee or his 19th beer of the day. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's coffee. I just came back from Wawa at a 24-ouncer, just going through my veins right now. You know what I mean? Picked up a fat mocha latte. I don't even know what that means. You know, once you start going iced coffee on me, just give it to me. You know what I'm saying?
How are you, man? Thank you for joining us.
Oh, of course. I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're good. Can't complain. Getting ready for this highly anticipated postseason run. But before we get into some postseason talk, I got to get your opinion on a regular season award, Broads. Who's your MVP, man? This is a highly talked about anticipated award here in Philadelphia because there are a lot of people that want Joel Embiid to win the MVP, and he's deserving. And then you got the other center out west in the Joker, who, in my opinion, is a little more deserving. And then you also have Steph, who that's Gint's pick. So what's your thoughts on the MVP award?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to go to Jokic, in my opinion. Unfortunately, Joel Embiid just doesn't have the games played. You know, if it came down to him having those games played and he played the same way that we saw all year long, I think it would have went to our guy here in Philly. But I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, here we're very biased. So I hear all the time, it's not even close. Stop it. It's close. I mean, we talk about Ben Simmons and his facilitating. The fact that a big man at the center position has more assists than Ben Simmons does with his passing, it just shows you everything you need to know about what he does. He's a different style of center, and he's just as dominant, just in a different way. So, you know, I think it goes to Jokic, and I think he should win it, honestly.
I think what a lot of people here in Philadelphia get upset about when you talk about the argument, it's because of this. It's the same position, and they get it twisted. Like it's as if we're saying Nikola Jokic is the better center. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying this year, yes, Joel Embiid was the most dominant player I saw on a basketball floor this year. However, you know, the games played matter. You can't miss 20 plus games in a 72-game season. And the other guy, hasn't missed any. His wingman goes down with 25 games left, and he actually elevates his team to a higher seed than where they initially were pre-Jamal Murray injury. So to me, it's really a no-brainer. I know Gint's on board with Steph, and he took a hard loss last night after LeBron got half blinded.
Yeah, I heard you guys kind of mocking my guy LeBron. You know I don't understand the hatred towards the greatest player I've ever seen with my eyes and the greatest player of all time. But other than that, I digress.
No, it was an all-time shot. I just didn't like the comment after. That's all. But
yeah, a lot of people are harping on it. It's like, you know what? He's just you just either hate him or you love him. You know, like to act as if MJ never did anything that would make you roll your eyes or any of these other guys. I mean, you would. It's just the fact that it's a different era. That's all.
Yeah. Kind of sticking with like regular season awards. How upset would you be if Ben doesn't get defensive player of the year?
I don't know. It's weird for me with Ben just because, like, yeah, he probably is the most versatile. when it comes to that. I mean, Rudy Gobert will give you the numbers from the big man and whatnot. But yeah, I think Ben is probably, he's just so unique in the way that he guards 1 through 5. It's just not the ability to hold his own. He does it at an elite level. Now, of course, there's some guards that just too quick, right? Whether it's De'Aaron Fox or you see some of these smaller guards have some burst, but that makes sense. It's not a knock on Ben to feel that way. I don't know if I'm that passionate about that one individual. Maybe that's a flaw on me. I don't know if I'm that passionate about it, even though I know the voting is geared towards blocks and big guys. It probably needs to be fixed, but in terms of like me being upset, I don't think I have a lot of rage in me. You know why? I need Ben to shoot the damn basketball. That's what I need.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm one of those.
I don't know that I would be upset. I think it's not even just pro Ben. I think it's more with me anti Rudy Gobert. That's what fair. That's what that award comes down to for me. But like Dive says here, he'll take Finals MVP, and I'm sure we'll take a defensive presence in Ben Simmons and the most dominant defense player in the playoffs as well. Bros, let's get to the postseason a little bit. Not Sixers yet. Let's stick around the NBA first. You know, the play-in tournament's still going on. So what were like going into this postseason? What were your thoughts on the play-in? Like just like the idea of it, and then how have you enjoyed it so far? Because the first night, little brutal. I don't know that Charlotte got the memo that was a playoff game for them or not. The second game was a little better with Washington and Boston. Last night was some good basketball though. So what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm anti. I understand what they're doing, but you're basically, and history will show you. I mean, you go back and you look at how many times a 1 seed beat an 8 seed, or 8 seed beat a 1 seed and all. And when it does happen, it's sort of like what happened with the Sixers, where Derrick Rose gets injured. It's very fluky. So you're basically putting stock into these games and making it who's going to get their ass kicked first. And it's like, I don't really need that. You know what I'm saying? I don't really need that. So when you look at how great yesterday was with the Lakers and Warriors, well, when you look at the context, it goes back to you needed one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen on planet Earth to be injured for the last 3 months, along with Anthony Davis, for them to even be in that scenario on top of Klay Thompson going down. All these variables to make a matchup happen in a play-in round be that spectacular and that storyline, if you will. That's what needed to go behind it. So me personally, I don't love it. I understand though, because look, we were watching a game last night that had some more juice involved. You know what I'm saying? So, do I need it? No, I don't, because these teams are going to, well, like I said, the Lakers is a different story because of the conversation behind LeBron, and that just shows you how great he is. But, I could live without it, to be honest with you. I'm like that first night, what were we doing? What were we doing? I'm watching some NHL Stanley, and I'm a hockey guy, so no knock on it. But if I wasn't a hockey guy, I'd rather watch the NHL playoffs than watch what I witnessed between some of those teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing that bothers me the most, so my idea of a play-in was kind of what they did in the bubble last year with the 8 and 9. Like if it comes down to the end of the season and there's a 2 to 3 game differential between the 8 and the 9 seed, do something there, right? Like the fact that the 7 seed in the West, which is a damn good team, gets drugged down to the 10th seed who could, be 8 games under 500 after 72 games. Like how do they have a chance to make a playoffs if they catch, if they win a game or two at the end of the season? It doesn't really make sense, but
yeah, I agree. It's like to justify it, you need some crazy scenario like what happened last night.
This is like, all it is.
Yeah, I know. But is that so? When you say that, what if LeBron and the Warriors were actually healthy and they played at the top of the league, and then you don't have that game? Like, I wonder what the impact would be of like. I want to see the numbers. Who was tuning into that Hornets-Pacers game when it was 30 points? Was anyone really watching, or were you flipping to some Kardashians? Big Kardashians fan, may I add?
But I think I did see that the Wizards-Celtics game did great ratings. So, I mean, but like you're right. When you get to those 9-10 matchup, like I don't even know what the Memphis-San Antonio matchup ended up producing ratings-wise. It was a good game, but like, did that really produce numbers for you revenue-wise? But go ahead, Gint.
Yeah, so kind of jumping into the matchups that are set, which one are you looking forward to most outside of obviously the Sixers, because they are our team?
Yeah, I guess it's got to be the Bucks in Miami. I think that one's really interesting. So many Sixers fans were so nervous after Game 70 of 72 because they got it handed to them. And there's so much. Once again, I'm a big context guy, right? To make it seem like, well, they lost to the Heat. Yeah, well, guess what? There's so many variables. They were trying to maneuver up the standings while the Sixers had Joel Embiid fly to town the day of or the night before without the team. And was he sick? Was he not sick? And this and that. I mean, no Matisse Thybulle. There's so many things. You put Ben Simmons on Duncan Robinson instead of Jimmy Butler, so you weren't even coaching to win to begin with. So many variables into what happened. But at the end of the day, I still tip my cap to what they have there. Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league for a reason, and they have attitude, and they play with toughness, and they did what they did last year in the bubble. So I don't think the Miami Heat are some stellar team by any means. I do see the Bucks handling business, whether it's 6 games or whatever the case may be. But that's probably look, 1 versus 8 is always 1, and 2 versus 7, same thing. You got to look at the 4 5s and the 3 6s, and I think that one, along with in the Western Conference, Dallas and LA, that's another one. So those are the 2 that I'm looking forward to outside of the Sixers.
Yeah, so you brought up the 6 seed, and that was my next question for you. Which the 4-5 isn't really an upset, and then when you look at 2-7, obviously the Lakers are most primed seeding wise to give an upset, but outside of that, like 3-6 is where my mind kind of goes here more realistically. And when you brought up the Bucks matchup and you think they'll win, so then I guess the other 3-6 is Portland and Denver. Which 6 seed is more primed? And obviously you just said the Heat are going to lose in your opinion. So is Portland more primed to upset Denver than Miami would be to upset Milwaukee?
I don't know. I think maybe they kind of have the same type of percentage, in my opinion, when I look at it. I wonder how far the Nuggets can go without Jamal Murray. And I know they had a nice run with it, and you mentioned what Jokic has done to this point, which is magnificent, no doubt. But there is an element of, I feel there's a ceiling. When you lose a player like that, there's only so many Nick Foles in this world that goes on a magical ride. More times than not, you fall flat on your face due to the fact that you just don't have enough firepower. Is that going to be in round 1? Probably not. I think last year, right, we were talking about the same thing. Watch out for Damian Lillard. Now, you're not going up against the Lakers like it was last season, but it's funny. Last year it was like, watch out for those Portland Trailblazers. They won game 1, and everyone's like, oh, really? Watch out for them. And then they lost 4 straight after that. So, I respect Damian Lillard. He's clearly a baller. Dame time, super fun to watch. I guess they probably have about the same, in my opinion, but the only difference is with Denver, when you lose, one of your primary guys and one of your primary ball handlers, that's an issue. So there is going to be a cap. You would like to think that with a team like Denver, they have enough to at least get by round 1 after the great season that they had.
Kind of getting into tonight, because we're back on like the boring side of this play-in tournament where it was Indiana and Charlotte and Washington and Boston. So the Sixers are obviously going to face the winner of this game tonight. Who would you rather see win in terms of the Sixers kind of getting by the first round in 4 games, essentially?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be a little bit, look, this team's not going to lose. I don't care. I do not care. This team is too good. And, there's people that are afraid, like, oh, Indiana. This team is too good. I don't care. They're going to smack the hell out of any team that comes their way in the first round. They are extremely talented. No one can stop Joel Embiid. So I know, like, probably Washington is a little bit easier, this and that. I don't care. I do not care. Give me anyone, because this team deserves that type of attitude. There's a difference where in years past, watching them go into the playoffs, you were really watching them take their steps and grow, and there were some tough matchups involved, and you wanted to see them finally win that first playoff series with 50-plus games, and they were riding hot in the playoffs, and it was super fun. And now, though, they deserve that credit that I just gave them. Bring on anyone, because I hate to say this, but they do essentially have somewhat of an easy road to get there based off of what they did. They made this happen. They allowed this to play out the way that it did by their hard work. So they deserve that type of mentality from us, the fans, because they put themselves in that position. So I don't care. They're going to win no matter who it is.
Yeah, you said it. Like, there is some worry in this fan base, and it drives me absolutely out of my damn mind. With, like, is there anywhere? To me, there's none. I don't, and the Sixers can't have that mindset, obviously, and they won't. But, like, we sitting here, we can have that mindset. I have no worry that they lose before the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, this, to me, they're getting past the second round this year. They will be a Final Four team. They will host the Eastern Conference Finals in Philadelphia. Is there any worry to you? Like, obviously, no, like how you just said, but, like, why do you think that is with this fan base a little bit?
I think they're just afraid to commit. There's like a level of commitment to, disappointment. They don't want to feel that heartbreak. And I understand it to a degree. I'm not claiming that they're going to the NBA Finals without a doubt. They have a great chance to. Statistically, you look at the data, you get that number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. You definitely have a solid chance to go and do that. But yeah, I think it's just a fear of getting your heartbreak. You don't want to go all in because, we've won 2 championships in the last however many years between the Eagles and the Phillies. And there has been some disappointing moments with the Andy Reid era and some of the Phillies baseball after the World Series. So, and the way I always go when people talk about this is, you lose more than you win. Okay. I mean, unless you're Boston, which is just, I'm jealous as hell of what they go through every single year, it seems, although I hope they live in pain moving forward without Tom Brady. This is normal. Like to win is hard. To win, that's why when people go like, they're never going to win. Well, guess what? You're probably going to be right. Why? Because it's so damn hard to actually do it. It really is. It's hard to win a championship. It's not easy. You're going to lose more than you're going to win, but that doesn't mean when you see your team, when you look around this league, there's no healthy Lakers team that should insanely scare you like we've seen with previous LeBrons. I'm not going to rule them out because it is LeBron and it is LeBron. I mean, it just is. But when you look around the league, the door is open for the Sixers just as much as any other team, if not more. So that's what you can hold your hat on here. And other than that, I think it's just commitment of heartbreak.
Yeah.
Afraid of it.
So we don't even know who they're going to play yet. So that's an unknown. But another unknown to me is, and something that's talked about a lot, especially on this show, is the rotation. And to me, like Doc hasn't really shown me anything that he's going to trim this rotation. So what are your thoughts on how this rotation is going to play out? Like, is it going to be 8, 9? Obviously, like earlier rounds, I can see it being 10, 11, but even if it gets matchup based versus Milwaukee or Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference Finals, can you see Doc Rivers trimming this rotation down, or do you think he just sticks to his guns? He did it last year in LA. Gint talks about it all the time. He played 10, 11 guys and it killed them last year. Like, did he not learn from that? I don't know.
Well, I would love to say he did. He's a smart man. I respect the hell out of Doc Rivers. He's clearly a very smart individual. So from that aspect, it's like I would love for him to look in the mirror and go, I've blown 3-1 series leads. And I think it's so funny how, we go back to fear, but the difference is no one's afraid because of Doc Rivers. They're probably just afraid because of Ben Simmons and his inability to shoot and this and that, and just afraid because they're afraid. No one really applies that fear to Doc Rivers. If anything, I think he gets the free pass. If Brett Brown had the same exact resume as Doc Rivers, he'd probably get shredded into a million pieces for all of those 3-1 series leads, and it's never brought up. So one of my fears is what you just said, and I would just, my answer to that is I would love to think that Doc Rivers, knowing how smart he is, that he will apply that logic that what failed in the past and then look at what his situation is here. I mean, there is obviously he's tied to some of these guys. What I would do personally, you're probably going to get away with some things in the first round. You might see Tyrese Maxey, and it would be great. That means to me, it's the fourth quarter and you're up 25 points and he's out there with some guys that I can feel good with. It's not Furkan, Shake Milton, Tyrese Maxey, Mike Scott. No. If Tyrese Maxey does get any run in the second half of a first round game, I got Ben on the floor. I got Tobias Harris on the floor. I got guys that I can make sure if things do go south, whatever, we can call a timeout, slow things down. You're in control anyway. So early on, that's where I'm at there. But like my perfect scenario would be 8 men. And it would be your starting 5, George Hill, Matisse Thybulle, and Dwight Howard. The problem is, if you play the Bucks, I don't think Dwight Howard's going to be useful because the way they spread the floor out with Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis, where you might have to see Ben Simmons play small ball, and then maybe you can maneuver. I don't like Shake Milton, but I feel more confident in him than Tyrese just because of age. Whether that's right or wrong, I do feel that way.
Kind of leading me right into my next question, honestly, because you talk about how Doc loves guys he's tied to. And coming into this season, the only thing that we heard about Shake from Doc was, I think he's going to be spectacular. The fan base was already comparing him to Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, all the guys that Doc's coached. So how big do you think Shake's leash is? If he does – so I presume in the first round you're going to see 9 guys minimum. In the second round, you might even see that if we're able to handle New York or Atlanta, whichever one we see. And I know I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but if we get to that point, the conference finals, whether it's Brooklyn, Milwaukee, somehow if it's Miami, do you think Shake's leash will be short, Or do you think if he looks uncomfortable, because last year against Boston in the bubble, he looked uncomfortable. He was getting pressed 94 feet, and he looked not ready for the moment. So how long do you think his leash is?
It better be short. I think 90% of this year he's actually been horrible. I mean, I'll just say that. There were a few games here and there where you saw flashes, but for the most part, he's been very inconsistent. And it kind of reminds me of, last year when you made those trades at the deadline and you brought in Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson III, and Glenn Robinson III made those comments about not knowing what his role is. I think Shake Milton is in that same exact boat. He doesn't know what his role is. Is he a six man with the ball in his hands trying to operate the offense? Not really. It doesn't seem like he did a good job in that area. So then it's okay. Let's try and put him off the ball. And we'll have George Hill with him. And there were some moments of really nice attacking the rim and finishing in tough moments, using the backboard and whatnot. But ultimately, I think Shake Milton has been an extreme disappointment where, I mean, I don't even know if I agree with my assessment of maybe Shake Milton gets right. I mean, he doesn't even play if it's really up to my personal opinion. I'm just saying I'm putting myself in the shoes of Doc Rivers, and he's probably going to trot him out there. He's going to give Furkan a chance. He's going to give all these guys a chance, and maybe you can get away with that depending on your first-round matchup. And then from there, you're really going to have to shrink it. There's a reason why teams shrink. And I don't even get how you can fit those many guys in. If you're going to play Joel, Ben, Tobias, all these guys, 38, 39 minutes or so, where are you fitting in the time to get these players in?
Exactly, and that's why I don't understand it. And the other thing that we didn't even touch on with the rotation is the hockey shift. So you're a big hockey guy, and Doc has done that. And in the regular season, you can get away with it. So help me God, dude. If there's a 5-man switch at the 2-minute mark or 3-minute mark of the first quarter to the 8-minute mark of the second quarter, I don't know what I'll do. I might switch the channel for those 4 or 5 minutes because it's unwatchable, especially against a Milwaukee team or whatever. But my question, sticking on Shake, like I've said this multiple times to Gint, like, I don't know if you feel this way. I don't trust him, to be honest. I haven't seen anything to trust him yet. And I feel like he gets a pass in this fan base. Everyone critiques the stars, right? Joel, even the fact that he's been in shape all year long. There's been a game or two where he's looked fatigued and people jump on him for, missing time and he's out of shape. Ben gets critiqued and criticized all the time. Tobias has been unreal 98% of the season, but the 2%, he gets critiqued. Shake doesn't. Like you are and I do. But this fan base, Twitter, everybody, it's like he gets a pass. Do you see that as well? And like, why? Like, do you understand it? Because like, I agree with you. He has been horrible 90% of the season.
I think it's starting to go in the other direction, and he's starting to get, I wouldn't say hate, but maybe the love for Tyrese Maxey is just taking over. So it's not so much we can't stand Shake Milton. It's more like, wow, look at Tyrese Maxey, and he's probably going to take over Shake Milton. So the fascination and love for the young rook is somewhat overshadowing the disappointment of Shake Milton. And another thing, too, is where he was drafted and where he was selected. You look at Joel, you're going to win because of Joel Embiid. You're going to win because of Ben Simmons. You're not going to win because of Shake Milton. You might not, all you ask for those guys is just like hold the fort down for a couple minutes until the stars come in. I don't know if that's I'm speaking out loud, trying to kind of speculate on why that is the case. And I never really thought of it that way with Shake. You're right. There really isn't Shake haters or, there's people who point out that he's not playing as well. But I do think maybe there's a reason that it's more tended or, it trends in the direction of Tyrese Maxey and his ability to play because everyone's just like so overwhelmed with that juice that he plays with. Let
me ask you, is there a chance the Shake love stems from the fact that he was a second-round pick, 54th overall pick, and it just reminds the processors of Sam Hinkie and all the gems he used to get? I think there's like a little nostalgia there and PTSD for the processors that just love that era of basketball.
Were there people that loved it? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm pro because look at what you're watching now. And the whole, did it work? Did it not work? It worked. Okay. I mean, we care on Tuesday nights in October and we want to punch holes in our TV when they lose to the Cavs on the road in game 16. I mean, to say it didn't work, it worked. Your asses are paying for tickets. You're selling out the arena. You're buying jerseys. You're freaking out. You're a number one seed. And it's going to be like that for a year. We've been in playoff runs. It worked. Don't tell me the only part of the process was just because of winning a championship or not. No, it's a business decision to get out of the 8th seed in that territory. And now you're at the top of the league every single year and you're on TNT all the time. It worked. But with the processors and all, I don't know. I don't, it's weird because I don't look at him like that. I guess I'm I'm so far removed from that era. I don't even think of that part of it anymore. There might be some though that I guess I've never really rolled upon someone who is still dug into that process mode of, like I think of the process still.
Yeah.
Maybe that's for the best part of it all. Maybe it's for the best, but I don't know. I mean, I never thought of it that way with Shake, but I guess it's possible.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me because we are far away from the Sam Hinkie era, and he's been gone. I know a lot of people loved him, and I shouldn't say that I did not like him. I just didn't love losing on purpose.
It worked.
It did, and don't get me wrong, because I'm appreciative of what we do have now for sure. I lost my train of thought though.
You're a hater, bro.
But my senses are you hated the process.
I just hated losing on purpose. I was
but look what you. I mean, it made.
I know.
When they explained it too, this is exactly what they told you. So not only did they lay it out,
they were transparent.
They perfectly execute. Not perfectly, sure. There were some hiccups along the way, but when you draft third and Jaleel Okafor falls to you or Nerlens Noel falls to you, it's not.
By the way, I love that pick.
Jaleel Okafor?
I was all aboard the jaw train, dude.
I hated Matisse Thybulle because he couldn't shoot, and you just picked another defender that couldn't do a damn thing.
You weren't one of the guys you weren't one of the guys that were mad they traded up and not getting Carson Edwards, right?
I was not. It wasn't specifically Carson Edwards. It was shooters in general. His name obviously came up, but what I wanted them to do was just take a bunch of shooters and take some flyers on some guys late. So you can, because you picked another guy that can't do anything with the ball in his hands. And to be fair, there's limitations there, but he's still unreal. Obviously.
I just think Hinkie gets a lot of love for something that was so long ago.
Why are you doing this?
How many?
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
It just all suddenly just all came out at one point. But if there's a statue built for him, I probably have to move on and find a different sports team to love.
Oh, come on. How can you disrespect you? If there's a statue, that means you won a championship, right?
Yeah, so I get what you're saying with that for sure.
Yeah.
You're a hater, bro.
You're a hater.
Right. Let's get back to this postseason run because he just derailed this entire show with his pessimistic ass. It's my co-host over here. But Broads, who is the X factor for the Sixers to make a run this postseason? Like, I'll ask you, you can include Joel Embiid, you can include Ben Simmons, you included Tobias Harris, but is there anyone else? Because Dives asked a question up above, like Danny Green, Seth Curry, Matisse Thybulle, but who is the X factor for you for them to be successful?
Yeah, so the X factor for me, I would stay away from the big names because that's almost inevitable. You're not going to win if Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons play poorly and your X factor off the bench plays a really good, strong game, right? So I guess for me, the X factor is going to be Matisse Thybulle, and specifically later in the rounds, if you're going to play a Brooklyn Nets, what is Matisse Thybulle going to do? Is he going to shut down the opposing shut him down, it's hard to do, or shut down their number one option? They have three options that can be classified as number one. But I do think that you have like a Swiss Army knife in Matisse Thybulle, and his limitations offensively on top of Ben Simmons' limitations offensively is going to screw up the spacing on the floor. There's no doubt about it. So it comes down to, sometimes you have those games where Matisse knocks down 2 of 3 from 3 or, 2 of 4 from 3. That would be great. I probably would anticipate him being afraid to pull the trigger at times, which is going to be a bit concerning, and I am worried about the half-court sets. But for me, I think it would be Matisse Thybulle because this team's identity all year was defense. So if you're going to have a team that's going to be able to, slow down a Brooklyn Nets firepower offense to the best of their ability, it's going to come down to that side of the floor. And I think because that's who you've been all year, you've been a shutdown team, not so much in transition, but hopefully that changes when the game slows down the pace a bit. I would go with Matisse Thybulle. I think that he's just a Swiss Army knife that can give you a really tough time if you're on the other side.
Let me stem off that Matisse comment real quick. Just, again, picturing we make it to a series and let's say we're playing the almighty Brooklyn Nets. How much can Matisse play in a game next to Ben Simmons where we're trailing by 7 or 8 points? And at that point, I just don't know how much you can see him alongside Ben, that is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And you're not just going to take Ben Simmons out of the game to throw in George Hill for a huge stretch of time just so you can find minutes for Matisse Thybulle. And that's where it becomes, really, really fascinating on how they're going to draw this thing up. And, I know we started off saying, I'm not worried. But there is the Ben fear, right? But that's more, we're not talking first round. We're not even talking about the New York Knicks. we're talking about if we're playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have elite superstars and a team of that nature. So yeah, I mean, the Ben thing is real, and I've been a Ben Simmons stan for about 3 years or so, and then there's a breaking point for me because, ironically enough, if we bring up the New York Knicks, right, Julius Randle has grown in so many areas of his game. Joel Embiid went from what he was last year to this year. That's your job as a professional athlete. And I know that he's gotten better. I mean, he has. I used to cover the Sixers for 97.3 ESPN. I would go down way before the game. I watched this man hit 100 threes nonstop. I mean, he does work on the craft. It's not coming out in the game, and that's a monster problem. He does work on the craft, but your job is to take that next step. You can't just shy away, not look at the basket, get walled off, and think the easy answer is to just pass it out to a Mike Scott who swarmed in the corner, and that's your last possession of a game. That stuff just can't happen. So I don't know how you live with it. And that is, once we start talking about playing a real contender, that's a big concern for me. And I appreciate, this is what I don't love. I can't get mad at Ben because he plays hard defense and passes the ball well. No. Why do I have to settle for those two being the only thing where his ceiling is so elite that I'm not satisfied with an 80% of Ben Simmons? He needs to be 100 because 100 is one of the best in the league. It's not asking for Seth Curry to be 100. It's not Furkan 100. Some guys are just different type of athletes. It's Ben Simmons at 100. That's franchise changing. I'm not willing to be satisfied with just 70 or 80% of someone who could tear the league into pieces. That's a disservice to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I know Gint agrees with you. It's just the frustrating part with me because I'm a Ben stan, and it's not the, well, he plays defense at an elite level and he passes really well. So like I give him a pass. I'm not giving him a pass. And like I've said, like the stretch where he had 5 points, 7 points, 9 points, like that's not
a lot of turnovers too during that time.
That's not that can't happen in the postseason. Okay, I say all that, but like you're level headed with it. You say it because you see what Ben Simmons can be with that element to his game. I can't stand. My beef is with the Twitter geniuses.
He just stinks.
Yeah, he doesn't shoot a basketball. He's not a real point guard. He's this, he's that. So that's where a lot of our frustrations come from. But bros, I want to put you on the spot here because we've been dancing around it for a while, all show about, what needs to happen, what needs to go right for the Sixers, their road there. What are your predictions for the 76ers in the 2021 playoffs? How far will they get? Not can they, will they?
No, I think they win the championship. I really do. I think they can win the championship this year. There are fears, with Ben specifically. I hate to just keep harping on him, but it is a big part of this. The success is going to ride with that. And Joel, here's something that as you play tougher opponents, and with all this, right? So I'm going to look at it in a way that might make it feel like, how can you say they're going to win a championship when you're bringing this up? Because all teams have issues. So if Ben Simmons is the Sixers' issues, no team is absolutely perfect. None. LeBron makes up for those mistakes. AD makes up for those mistakes. Kawhi Leonard makes up for the mistakes of Toronto. And sometimes luck bounces your way with injuries to the opponent. There's so many things that can be involved here. I look at it as, can Joel Embiid make up for those flaws of your team? Brooklyn has no bench, and they haven't really played a lot of basketball together while they have the most firepower of all the teams. The Bucks, we talk about taking steps and growth and development. They're still in that tier of they need to get over that hump. They haven't done it yet, and they might be able to with Drew Holiday. I don't know, but they haven't done it yet. There's no clear-cut team that it's automatic and it's obvious that they're going to do it. So with that being said, even with the Sixers' flaws that I'm about to bring up, they still have a great high chance of doing it. But with Joel Embiid, they're going to double, they're going to triple, they're going to come at the baseline double team, they're going to come from the free throw line, they're going to make him feel so uncomfortable and early in the shot clock so he can't jab step you to death and hit that mid-range jumper. So he can't put his back to the bag. They're going to force you. I call it the anything but rule. Anything or anyone but, I should say. Anyone but Joel. So if Seth is wide open, they'll live with it. If Danny's wide open, they'll live with it. If that's the mentality, will Joel Embiid be able to make up for your flaws? Probably not. Then the answer is, well, can it be Danny or Ben in the dunker spot or anybody, Tobias Harris being that Robin? Can this team just collectively make up for the flaws that they have in the half court sets and with their point guard not shooting, because it is a flaw. So, but I do think, like I said, with all that, I still think they have a great chance of doing it. I really do.
There you go, Gint. You a little less pessimistic now?
I'm not pessimistic.
All right, bros. Before we get you out of here,
but one more, I got something here. I got something because that made me think about it a little bit. It's like, because I was thinking about this today. I go on a walk at my local park, whatever, just get some fresh air, COVID, fresh air, breathing. Yeah. It's nice. It's nice to breathe. So I was just self-reflecting, thinking about the Sixers and whatnot. And you just feel like, I don't know if the Sixers are going to be able to do it. What team, and this is why I feel the way that I do. When you look around the league, there really is no team this year that it's the Golden State Warriors. It's LeBron James and a team in Miami when he was playing for the Heat. There is no team like that. So if there's no clear-cut choice that you're afraid of the way that you are, why not the Sixers? Now, I would agree with you if there was a Golden State Warriors team where it's like, wow, really? There's no way. Even if they get to the finals, there's no way. I'm not like that with Utah or Phoenix or any of these teams. Even if they do land the Clippers in the NBA Finals, a good team, and you're going to have to beat a good team to win a championship. They're not an unstoppable team. So if you feel a little nervous about the Sixers, is there a team that would make you feel that way? I guess is my question. Like, what team would make you feel nervous?
Not me. I picked the Sixers to win the chip last night. So Gint, I think Gint's kind of on board too. I just think he's
So I'm on the board of I definitely want to see how Brooklyn performs at full strength before. So the question was brought to me was, who would you put your money on currently between the Sixers and Brooklyn in the series? I said, I'm not going to make that bet at any point anytime soon. We haven't even seen them play. Now, I think we pose a lot of problems to them. But I also think Brooklyn might take the route of, you have Joel Embiid, I understand that. Will he be able to beat our three guys by himself? Kind of the method that Golden State used to take against LeBron. And it was, you see LeBron's numbers, 41, 10, and 7, but they're okay with Steph having 20, Kevin Durant having 31, and Klay Thompson having another 20. So, but again, I'm a Sixers fan. I am optimistic, even though I haven't really sounded it. They're the number one seed for a reason. They have to play a 7-game series against us with home court advantage. But as of right now, I wouldn't put my money on anyone. But I am. I am.
Bros, I got to tell you this. On yesterday's show, we were talking all about this. And after I picked them to win, we had a commenter say, stop it. You're getting overexcited. They have no chance. Let's face it. If Brooklyn's healthy, they have no chance. And then he went on to say, what did he say? All they have to do
is stop Joel Embiid.
Is stopping Joel Embiid. And I'm like, oh, well, I think his name was.
That's it.
I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Man, I don't know why no one's thought of that yet. Well, that's not so simple, bud. So there's no one's pulling that plan out of their ass and just stopping Joel Embiid. Like, it's just not that simple. And that's why he's the sole reason I'm picking them to win the title. Well, he's not the sole reason. Obviously, like the step that Tobias Harris has taken from last year, how he went from one of, in a lot of people's minds, if Al Horford wasn't a 76er last year, Tobias Harris with his play and his contract, people would have been even more anti-Tobias Harris going into this season. And the way Doc Rivers and himself have turned his game back around, and he's averaging just around 20 points per game. And then the veteran leadership, Danny Green, Seth Curry, the 3-point shooting and spacing, I get it. But what it comes down to is how dominant Joel Embiid has been all year long. And I'm being serious with you. You're right. Like, in my lifetime, LeBron's the most dominant force, dominant athlete I've ever seen in my lifetime. This season is the most dominant performance I've ever seen. There's no answer to him, dude. I know in Miami what they hold him to, 8 points or 10 points or whatever in the game 70 or whatever. No, that's the biggest outlier I've ever seen. He consistently averaged 31 this year. Like, the mid-range is knockdown. Post knockdown. He can step out. He's passing out of a double team better than I've ever seen in my entire that he's played in his career, which is a huge step for me. And then just the fact that, he gets to the line 8 times a game. He shoots 14 to 16 free throws a game, and that's all he's going to do against the Brooklyn Nets. And they can throw double teams at him. They can try to zone like Miami did, throw different looks at the Sixers and wall off Ben Simmons. He's the most dominant force in the NBA, and that's what I'm sticking with.
Yeah, and no, yeah, it's a very valid point. I'm with you. All the things that you just mentioned is so lethal. There is the anyone but rule that comes into play here, but it's not that easy, right? I mean, if you do find a wide open Danny Green in the corner, guess what? More times than not, he's going to make it splash. I think it's so damn funny that about 15 games into the season, half this town wanted him out of here, and I go, he's not this bad. He's not. He's Danny Green. He's a champion for a reason. It's the same thing you see with Andrew McCutchen. Oh, he's terrible. He's hitting 156. He's done. No, he's not. Andrew McCutchen has done way too much to be a 156 hitter in this league with the snap of your fingers, and now he's hitting leadoff home runs.
He got new contacts.
Yeah. There you go. It was a mess. Don't get me wrong, but it's just so funny how you forget there's a reason why Danny Green is looked upon as Danny Green and won so many championships in this league. But yeah, anyway, getting back on Joel Embiid, you're right. This has been, even when Allen Iverson, and I was a little young with the whole AI thing. Yeah, I mean, I'll be 26 years old on Sunday, so I'm not going to tell you I've heavily dissected the Allen Iverson era the same. I mean, I'm 6 years old. I'm not like, oh, wow, look at that pick. You know what I mean? But Joel Embiid's dominance, though, what we've seen this year, you can't stop him. You just and it makes it so much more unique because this era is not filled with the big man. Although it's a copycat league. Everyone's going with that Steph Curry lifestyle. I wonder, and they're rare, so it's not, you can't just pluck them off trees here. But is this league going to start looking for the Embiids and the Jokic's instead of going full throttle? It's a little bit of both because Utah seems to be going with that run and gun LA fitness broads with the 40-year-old dads that are done work at 6 p.m. lifestyle, just running and banging threes.
To go back to my comment, too, about the Nets and all that, it could also go very bad, and they could turn out to be pointing the fingers at each other. Kyrie wants the ball more. James Harden wants to touch the ball more. And, I mean, Steve Nash is a rookie coach, and you have to orchestrate a plan for Joel Embiid. Who knows how that's going to work? So,
listen,
I don't want to sound too –
That's a good point. No, it's a good point. No, I'm with you. I know you're not a hater, although you sound like one.
No, so here's my thing with Brooklyn. Me and Gint have talked about this over and over again, but when it comes down to Brooklyn, yes, it has the potential to be something we've never seen before. Those three isolation players, three of the best isolation players we've ever seen. And if it works, the whole one ball argument, I'm not, listening to, right? It's the defensive side for me, right? And everyone keeps saying, well, when Brooklyn gets healthy, well, how the hell do you know Brooklyn's going to get healthy? Because they played a grand total of 7 games together since freaking January when they assembled this team. So you don't know that they're going to get healthy. If they do, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, whoever's been the guy out, isn't a big man. He's not a rim protector. So they don't do anything to stop Joel Embiid. They haven't done anything to provide rim protection, right? But defensively, that's where the finger pointing and the frustration can set in with me. Instead, not the one ball, not I'm not getting enough touches, enough shots. It's okay, well, in the postseason when they haven't played a lot together, switching on defense, help defense. When you get backdoor cut layup, backdoor cut dunk, transition dunk, and it's like, yo, aren't you supposed to be there? And then that's where it kind of comes into play for me. And the other thing is, this has never worked, guys. It is a team who's with that defense, whatever they're ranked now. I know they're not as bad as they were when they first got together, but they're not good. They're not a good defensive team by any means. It's never worked. This style of basketball has never won a championship. And I just think people that bow down to it and assume that these three are going to be healthy and these three are going to average 28 to 30 apiece and they're going to run through the East and win the NBA title is absolutely mind-boggling to me.
No, it's a good point. And I remember last year and all, we kept hearing the phrase built for the playoffs, which was very frustrating.
Bully ball?
It reminds me, though, a little bit of built for the play. And I think you realize, by the way, and that goes back to another philosophy that teams might have with the whole bully ball thing. And I know that Brett Brown, and I'm sure you've heard my takes on Brett. I think that people just got so frustrated. There's no NBA coach that lasts 7-8 years. There's a reason why guys like Doc Rivers, who are good at their job, end up moving on because the message just runs dry eventually. 7, 8 years, it's a long time. Most people do lose their voice in that strength of or that length of time. But with the whole bully ball, it's you realize that you can't win with twos. Teams are banging threes. If you go 2 for 3, and that's why teams might say, hey, Joel, go ahead and beat us as long as Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris are limited. Joel, I'll let you go down in the post and just continue to score twos because we're hitting threes on the other side. No, I don't think that'll work with the Wizards and the bad teams. It's weird this year, but I have to give credit to the Sixers for putting us in this position. Normally that wouldn't apply to first, second round matchups. This year, it's like, hey, I don't even care about those. I'm talking more heavier action. But built for the playoffs, getting back on track with the Nets. That's what it seems like. Very similar to just wait for the playoffs. No matter what, just wait for the playoffs. It didn't work with the Sixers. It didn't work with the year with the Boston Celtics and Kyrie Irving. That fell apart. There's always a team every year that the expectations are so high and you just wait for it to turn around, and it never really does. And there's something in my stomach that tells me it might be the Brooklyn Nets this year.
Nothing would make me happier, and I think that happens. I think that happens in the second round. I'm not lying. I said it last night.
That's not ridiculous to think. The
No.
Bucks are a good team, man.
I
They're
know, and I think people put them on,
underrated.
people put them on the back burner. It was the Sixers have been like the 1 seed all year long, so obviously they're in the conversation. And then the Nets assembled this team, so now people propel them to the top. They have the best odds to win the title, whatever will come out of the East. And like we had so many commenters, like when we were talking about Brooklyn, like as lumping the three together, they're like, stop it with Brooklyn, like blah blah. That's not true. And like we've seen it. Yes, the Nets haven't been fully healthy, but we just watched Brooklyn beat the Brooklyn Nets twice in one weekend. A few weeks ago in the last week or two of the regular season. They're a damn good team. The Nets, if they don't have an answer for Joel Embiid, which they don't have an answer for Giannis, and they won't have an answer. That answer just isn't coming out of thin air. And Drew Holiday, I think defensively, the Bucks are one of the teams that can match up with the Nets a little bit. No, you're right. No one's stopping. No one's shutting down Kevin Durant. No one's shutting down James Harden and Kyrie Irving. But there's guys that you can throw at them to limit them. And if that happens, is Joe Harris going to bang 6 threes, 7 threes consistently throughout the playoffs? Are they somehow going to play great team defense? I just don't see it. So I honestly think the Nets get bounced in the second round. Watch, they'll probably sweep the Bucks now.
That's funny. That's how it always goes, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, while they're a great team with Giannis, I always go grow man's league, right? That's one of my big ones where, there's a reason why you look at the greatest, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, even Kevin Durant, and it took him not only his age, but to go to Golden State to do it as well with the stacked team. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Giannis is in that stage of Joel Embiid. They're rare, and they're in this awesome category of dominance, but they haven't put it all together yet, and they're not really – they're raw in this superstar mode. More Joel is, I would say, more raw than Giannis because at least Giannis had it last year with the season MVP and all. But there's still a lot to learn once you get to this area. It's great that you're there, but you still need to learn how to act, how to mature, how to dominate, how to do everything as that superstar once you become, the Joel Embiid and the Giannis. So with as great as the Bucks are as a team, there is that element of Giannis hasn't learned how to put it all together in a playoff series yet to finally take that leap. Kevin Durant has. Now, James Harden hasn't. Kyrie Irving has as a secondary option. So that would be my concern if I'm looking at that series where, sure, I don't think it's out of the thing is, I think all three of these teams legitimately have a chance to do it. They really do in their own way. So that's kind of where it's at.
All right, Birds. Now, before we get you out here, I do got to touch on the Philadelphia Phillies with you.
Yes. My heart.
What is this team, Broads? What are they? I don't have any damn idea.
They are
injured? Can we say that they're injured? They're beat up?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt they're beat up. They're also lacking talent. They're lacking execution. I would say that they are what they're giving you. Like, even without the injuries and all, like, this is the Philadelphia Phillies. We've seen this be nothing new is happening this year that we haven't seen in the last 2 seasons. This is the Phillies. They don't just lose. They crush you. They make you stare at the wall for 3 hours after the game. You think you're stoned, and you realize, wait, I didn't even smoke tonight. You're just like, what just happened? And then you watch the extended highlights. You're like, what? That actually happened? It happened. They lose in these crazy ways that just don't make sense. But I'll tell you what, heading into the season, I saw the over-under set by Vegas at 80. That's a little low, but Vegas knows a lot more than I do. Still thought it was low. I see them as an 85, 86 win team. So what is an 85, 86 win team? They're basically a 500 team all year long. And then somewhere throughout that journey, there's 4 wins. That's a nice little run that whether that's a 10-game win streak followed by a 6-game losing streak, however they do it, which I bet you it's going to be nuts. They're just a tick above 500, and that's who they are. But I'm here for that emotional roller coaster because I enjoy the emotion of just playing tug of war with my body.
Yeah. How was that roller coaster of emotion last night when Andrew Knapp sent a ball about 329 feet?
I thought it was happening. I thought it was happening. Look, Andrew Knapp was my Furcon Korkmaz at one point, right?
Yeah, me too.
But to be fair, dude, he hit. This is what I can't stand, right? The guys that are like, I can't believe you. Let's look up right now. As much as Andrew Knapp has put together nice at-bats, okay, and he's been okay this year, my man is hitting 182. 182! That's garbage. But we're looking at him like, best backup catcher in baseball. He's hitting 182. So going back to the years that we all hated him, he hit 198. He hit under 200 a whole year. He hit 213 the year before. And right now we're jumping up for joy that our catcher is hitting 182.
I'll share a little secret with you. I hate him.
You still hate him?
I hate him.
Okay. I don't hate him as much as I did in the past, to be fair.
And I'll tell you why. Because sometimes like these players. So I have a list. So on this show, like you can ask Gint. I really wish I could make a T-shirt with it. But are you a WWE guy?
I used to be back in the day when it was Booker T, Rey Mysterio, Cena.
So you know Chris Jericho?
Sure, absolutely.
Remember his list? Like you just made the list?
Yes.
I have a list, bro. But it's not other athletes. It's Philadelphia athletes that play for the teams that I love and hold dearly to my heart.
You
right?
hate Scott Lawton, by the way?
Yeah. Oh, how'd you know that was coming?
That's a bad take by you.
He's actually the first person that made the list was Scott Lawton.
That's a bad take, man.
Yeah.
That's a bad take. But go ahead. I want to hear your list first. For Scott Lawton.
Yeah. And then he scored a hat trick on my birthday this year against
the
Pats.
There you go. Yeah, flipped you off.
But this is what always happens. So Furcon Korkmaz, 110% on the list. Okay.
I hate him.
And I'll talk. First of all, I wish Nadir was in here. So we have a commenter from, I don't know where Nadir's from, but he loves Furcon Korkmaz.
He's probably from Turkey.
I think he's out. He's Eastern European or wherever.
Okay.
But he loves Furcon. He gives me a lot of shit for him. But every time I dog Furcon, that night, 2 nights later, 6 threes. First Phillies game I go to this year is the Sunday game on Easter against the Braves. I get there with my man Scotty. I didn't even know JT wasn't playing. Andrew Knapp's in the lineup. I'm texting Gint. Jesus Christ. Knapp's in the lineup. Like, why did I come to this game? First plate appearance, puts one off the scoreboard on the upper tank, right?
Amazing.
Like, it's Scott Lawton. Dog Scott Lawton. Hat trick on my birthday. And Scott Lawton, he's just like, dude,
But in today's game, I used to hate him. I was like, I can't believe. I remember even Amadeo who popped up in the chat.
Yeah.
Right? I would tell him like, I cannot believe we're going back to the Scott Lawtons, the Raffles, the Lindbloms, and this was prior to AV's year where they actually went on a nice run or whatever. Like I will admit, Lawton has become there's a reason why we talked about him as maybe getting you a first-round pick back at the trade deadline. He's that valuable in the PK. He could play wing. He could play center. He gives you depth. As much as I used to roast Scott Lawton for just being a grinder, he's way more than just a grinder now. So
for sure. It's just like,
he's the best out of the 3 that we've mentioned.
He is, and I agree with you there. But there's times where now was it a regular season game this year against New York, or no? It was the game against Boston earlier this year where the Flyers blew a third period lead late. They let up 2 goals in like the final 3 minutes or whatever. And Lawton's on the ice for the second one to tie it. And with like 8 seconds left,
he took a penalty.
Dumbest freaking penalty I've ever seen. It's the penalty where you're at the Wells Fargo Center and everyone's like going nuts at the ref, like wondering why. And you see a replay. That's why, asshole. Like it's a penalty, right? Like, it was one of those. It was either a high stick or might
have been a cross check or board or something, right?
Something. It was so stupid. It was like a frustration penalty with 8 seconds left before overtime. Flyers go down 4-3. Disadvantage, and then Boston buries one like 30 seconds in. And I'm like, that's why I hate him. That like he's that irritating little piece on the Flyers for me, and then he does little shit like that here and there. Like, you know who I used to. Radko Gudas, oh my God, when he was a Flyer.
You know what's funny though? But here's what I'm noticing about this trend, right? And I get why Furcon bothers you because I'm not big on. But think about what we're talking about right now. So we're talking about a third depth line center / wing. We're talking about a 10th man off the bench, and we're talking about the backup catcher.
Yeah,
all of these things like. I mean, like,
So, but you know what it is?
That's what it is. It's
but
crazy.
I think it's the fan base, bros. I think it's the fan base for the people that love these little like not irrelevant, but
TJ
you know,
McConnell.
yeah. Oh my God, oh
Who?
TJ.
McConnell.
I know that
TJ
that's
McConnell.
definitely your boy, bros, but he's 110%.
Well, he's my boy in terms of when I play pickleball, I wear a TJ McConnell jersey and I want to be him, and I am him. But other than that, I'm not like some stan. You know what I mean?
It's the
That is
fan
me.
base
I mean, that is me. Literally, that's my game.
Yeah, Amadeus right. The Lawton one's weird, man. Like, cause Flyer, the fan base doesn't overhype him. I don't know what it is. The Korkmaz, and I guess it's just from doing the show here at the Painted Lines with the people I've interacted with that love Furcon. And
I don't
my
get
God,
it. I don't get it.
I don't know where it has
It's
ever
because
come from.
There's this thing where like people forget that regular season is not the playoffs. So because there's a role, and I'll give Korkmaz this. There's a role for regular season bench, end of the bench type of minutes that won't play in the in the postseason. I can get behind that. If you told me entering the season, this is his role. He's a guy that'll play some regular season minutes, back end of the bench, space out the foot. Every team has a guy that won't play in the playoffs, but serves minutes, logging in minutes in a regular season. You can do that at 40% three-point shooting. He used to be under 30 as a three-point specialist. That's where I had the problem. He's earned his way into that role, but he can't hang. If you're going a mismatch and Kyrie Irving gets a switch on Korkmaz, dude, good luck.
Dude, that's like when Nadir blamed Doc Rivers for Ferk's lack of 3-point shooting percentage this year. Oh my God.
Jeez,
the worst part is it's not a troll. Like
I've
done some. I tried to do some investigating on. Hey, well, watch it. It's not a terrible take. But one last thing I got to get your opinion on, man. Joe Girardi, fan or not? Because that's a very, divisive conversation going on in Philadelphia right now as well.
Yeah, so I think that he could do better, and I'm not saying that I'm overwhelmed with what he's not. I'd say I'm a little disappointed, right? I would just say he's been okay. Here's my problem with it. Like, this is the perfect example. The other day, he put in Jose Alvarado, who allowed a 2-run home run. The score was now 3-1 to Jazz, and I got this tweet at me. Why would Joe Girardi ever put in Jose Alvarado? And I'm thinking, okay, what do you mean? It's a late inning situation a game. He goes, why not Kinsler? Why not Coonrod? So those were the two names that he gave me. The following night, he put in Kinsler. He allows 3 straight singles and had to pull him for Coonrod. So then I get a comment from the same individual. I said Coonrod. Why not Coonrod? Well, hold on. The night before, you used Kinsler as an option. My point is this. All of these guys, they're in the same category, okay? Kinsler, Coonrod, Alvarado, Hunter Brody. What doesn't make sense to me is putting in David Hale in the 8th inning. That would be an asinine move. To utilize any of these 4 or 5 guys in the 7th inning, they all make sense. It just because it doesn't work out doesn't mean it's a bad philosophy going into it. It's just the players need to execute at some point. And I was anti-Gabe Kapler. And I'll say this. I think that I owe him to a degree an apology because I put too much stock into what a manager does in 2021 and 2020 and 2019. We want them to have the impact of the old school manager. They don't. They do not have the impact. So while I'm not happy with some of the things I've seen out of Joe Girardi, this team, if you flip-flop Joe Girardi with any other manager, they're 22-21. You're not flip-flopping any manager with Joe Girardi, and somehow magically you have 6 more wins on your record this year. This team is what they are because Rhys Hoskins struggles during moments, because your defense is poor. And the best example of this isn't Little League, right? You don't have to tell Gene Segura that before a game, hey, Gene, make sure you stay low. You'll get a freeze pop after the game out in right field. You know what I mean? That's not how it works.
You want some big league chew?
Yeah, exactly. This is professional sports. So these sloppy plays, this and that, that's not Joe Girardi. The sloppy plays is on Gene Segura. It's on Mickey Moniak, who sucks. It's on all Adam Hazley, who sucks. It's on all these guys that suck. It's not on the manager. Andrew McCutcheon hitting 156 is why you're losing games. It's not Joe Girardi. Like, for another example, I can't believe Girardi's putting Torreyes in the lineup. Torreyes had 2 insane hits after Odubel yesterday that put him in a position, or one was a walker, one was a whatever. He got on base 2 times, one in the 3rd, one in the 8th. very big to start some rallies. You're bitching and complaining that Joe's making bad and not putting in Nick Maton. Dude, with all due respect, we thought Scott Kingery 2 years ago was the next great thing. He stinks now. Let's not crown Nick Maton this guy that is unacceptable to take out of the lineup. So that's my thoughts on Joe Girardi. Too much hate towards the manager. Everyone needs a scapegoat. Let's look at it. Every team has their scapegoat of guys that puts all the blame on it, as if the reason why they're 22-21 is Joe. Give me a break.
Nadir is in the building, man. I wish we were still in the Sixers, but we're not, bro.
We got Nadir?
Yeah. He said I'm here.
Someone must have you think
Nadir,
that there's a group chat? It's like, yo, Nadir, they're calling for you.
Yeah, well, Amadeo knows because Amadeo said, here we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this was an ongoing thing for a while. He hasn't been around as often lately, but when did Nadir tell me that Ferk would be in this rotation, like be a big part of this team? He told me February, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's probably he might in the first round, and then from there, it'll that's the problem I have even with I hate to say this, like the Ben Simmons stands. What's going to happen is he's going to explode against a Washington Wizards team, and I'm supposed to get a Broads. What did I tell
exactly.
you?
And
no, I don't care about the Wizards.
We had Tyrone Johnson on the show a couple weeks ago, and the best thing that he said, that one of the takeaways was when we had to get his opinion on Korkmaz, because that's an ongoing thing here, as you could tell. And his whole thing was, it's great that he can get that shot off against the Wizards or the Magic or the Timberwolves or whoever. Can he get the shot off against the Milwaukee Bucks? Can he get that shot off against, the Denver Nuggets of the world, the Miami Heat of the world? No, he hasn't. And he's still yet to prove that to me. But every game, and the thing with Korkmaz is every game that he goes off for 16 points and hits 5 threes, he'll have 6 games where he's a non-factor or a detriment to this team. But Broads, thank you so much for coming on, man. Everyone give him a follow. Well, just plug your stuff because you have a ton going on right now. So go ahead.
Yeah, so basically just the good old Broads Media. We made the transition from Sports Talk with Broads to Broads Media, which is just like above that. So we have like shows falling underneath the Broads Media umbrella. So just to keep it real simple, Broads Media pretty much on YouTube, Twitch, and that's where or YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and from there you'll be able to find everything dispersed throughout. So that's kind of where we're at. You had me looking at Korkmaz's 2021 game log and some of his statistics. That's what I'm going to do once we're done here. I'm going to go through a Furkan Korkmaz game log until the Phillies begin.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. A good one. Thanks for having me, fellas.
No problem. All right, Gint, I think we're just about to wrap up here, but man, Nadir came in late.
Yeah, dude. Like you said, it's like the Under Armour. Dong.
Broads on Twitch playing some chill. Absolutely. Everyone go give him a follow if you don't already. I'm sure most of you do, at Broads81, and go give Broads Media a follow. You can give me a follow at DylanJD98 and give Gint a follow at Matt_McGinty. DSM Media, everybody. Brock, give my man Brock a follow at Landis Brock. And guys, go subscribe to DSM Media's YouTube channel and follow our Twitch channel if you want to be entered for a chance to win the Joel Embiid City Edition t-shirt heading into this postseason. And we will be doing more giveaways as the weeks go on here, progressing towards the Sixers run. For myself, for Gint, have a nice night, everybody, and thanks so much.